Hey, welcome to the tech capital of the world. This is Bobby Day, CEO and founder of Coder Foundry. I'm joining you from a beautiful day here in North Carolina. Hey, Kevin, how are you doing? How's the weather your way?
Good. It's good. Just around the corner from you. It's fine. Well, it's a bit
Exactly.
rainy today, but it's all right.
A little pocket storm. So,
Yeah. It's not been too bad. It's yeah. I get those things on the TV where it's like severe weather alert day, and I'm like, is it? It's just raining a bit. Like I
yeah,
wouldn't call that
yeah.
severe weather. And I'd just like to point out, Stephen, we are never late. We are only ever on time. It's our
Just like
time.
Gandalf.
Like we are only ever on time. We are the Gandalfs of YouTube. That's
We,
it.
we provide,
We,
arrive precisely when we meant to.
Exactly. We meant to arrive here at exactly this time. So we're actually on time. So I had to point that out. Um,
All right. So what's going on? Have we got any big news today? So that's, anything going on
what are we
today in the
talking
world?
about today? I don't know. Did you watch Loki last night? I know you did.
Loki was amazing. We can't spoil it for anyone because,
Yeah, we're only
spoiler
a day
alert,
in or
but like,
so. We're not going to spoil it.
but if
So
you're a Marvel fan like I am, Loki is an amazing. I think in addition to what's going on, I think there's some deeper things going on, and like maybe we'll talk to it later. But
yeah, we'll talk about it
one
next
day,
week. But yeah, look,
yeah,
I already watched it. It's this
yeah,
this TVA branding thing in this thing was like, God, it's so good. Like it's so good.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
So
this is a show I'm gonna watch.
technically, how does that group watch work? Do you think we could group watch it?
I don't know.
Should we
I
group watch
guess.
one?
Yeah, we
All
should.
right,
How does that work actually? You have to
let's
like
find out and
invite the
see.
people.
If you're out there, put a comment in if you'd like to group watch it with me and Kevin, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, that'd be
I don't know
cool
how it
actually. Here you
works
go.
though.
Look, group watch, start stream, invite up to 6 friends to your group.
Six friends.
Do they have to be
Okay.
like friends? Oh, there you go. You can copy a link, look, so we can have the first 6 people come in and join us watching it.
Okay.
They've got
Or
to
we
have
could just
Disney
do it
Plus
to our
though.
members. Our members could group watch it with us. I think we got some members out
Oh, we
there.
could do that.
Yeah.
We could do
Maybe
that.
they
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to.
yeah. Yeah. We could do that. You do have to have Disney Plus though. So that
Yeah.
is, I
We
guess.
can't get Disney Plus where we're not handing those out yet. But maybe
Okay.
Disney will sponsor us one day, right after Microsoft does. So so,
We'll take that. That'd be interesting.
giving away
Yes,
Disney
that
Plus
that could be
memberships.
cool.
That'd be
Maybe we
pretty
watch
cool.
episode 2, group watch or something. Next, when did they come out? It came out yesterday, right?
Wednesdays. They come out
Oh,
on
Wednesday.
Wednesdays,
Okay,
but
okay. So there you go. So Wednesday we could group watch with somebody. That'd be interesting. I like that.
okay. So if you want to group watch with me and Kevin, put us in chat. Hit us on Discord.
Let us
We'll
know.
try to find it's me and Kevin, so we only can get four.
For
So
others.
four of our
Well, I guess it's 5 others,
4 of
right?
you.
So I can invite up to 6 friends. So I can do you and then 5 others. I think.
Right. I was gonna say, what
That's
do you
how.
mean I can't come? So
Oh
hey,
no, I
what
didn't
happened
mention.
here?
No. You're not invited. I mean, if we get 6 others, I'm sorry, you've been bumped.
Exactly. I'm just alone by myself watching it, so it's all right.
I like it. That's fun. I like it. Good. So yeah, it's very good. I
So
love
anyway, another big
the
news.
aesthetic in it was amazing. By the way, just as you haven't
Yeah,
watched it, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to say anything about it, but the visuals in it very impressive. Just the
yeah,
whole sort of throwback to the '60s and sort of analog
yeah. I
visuals.
call it
Very cool.
'60s retro future tech. I
Yeah,
mean,
it is.
so
Yeah,
like
yeah,
there's like
yeah,
that's what I call it, and so
yeah,
that whole thing is just like really, really cool.
yeah.
So an Austin Powers vibe. I mean, kind of
Yeah, it
if
has a
you want
little
to
bit of that. Yeah,
compare it
yeah,
to a
yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah. But there's one very funny joke
But
in it. Again, not going to spoil it, but you'll know which one, and we'll talk about it next week because it's funny.
yeah, it's very funny.
So yeah,
So,
there's that. And then, so this morning I woke up and I'm watching the news, and I see there's a new story about the meat hack. Let's just call
meat
it the meat,
packers, yeah,
the JVS meat hackers. Turns out they paid the ransom.
$11 million, Kevin.
$11
$11
million.
million.
$11 million. How nuts is that? It's
It's
insane. This is the
insanity. I think we
second.
should hack somebody.
This is the second or third like big one we've seen. Second recent,
Yeah,
right? Second very recent one.
yeah.
Where they actually admitted to paying it. But I read the story and look, hold on, I have this up here too. So this is the BBC version of the story, and these 2 lines really sum it up for me right here. It says the payment was reportedly made in Bitcoin. Okay, interesting. Just like the other one was that they got back. Bearing in mind, so
Hmm.
keep that in your mind. after plants had come back online. So hold
Yeah,
on.
they'd already fixed it.
You're not even ransomed at this point. So why did you do it?
Yeah.
Here they say, JBS says it was necessary to pay to protect customers. Okay, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? They think they're getting their data back? It's gone.
Well, they did, but they just you can't. You can get it back.
I mean,
yeah, they gave them the one copy of the knock list, like in Mission Impossible 1. Like,
right,
that's the problem.
Right, they've already copied it. You're not protecting anybody.
Copied it, man.
I don't understand.
I'm wondering how, but I do wonder, like, how do you get that information back? It's like a CSV file, JSON, XML database. I wonder how these guys operate these days.
They're like, no. We promise this is the original. You can have it back. Like no. We didn't make copies. What are you talking? We don't know how to do that. What are you talking about? I don't understand.
What they do is they email it to them on a USB drive, which has more ransomware on it, and say, just plug this in and get your data back.
This in. Yeah, exactly. I think there's other things going on here that we just don't really know about. I'm not sure I don't think they genuinely paid $11 million in Bitcoin to get their thing back on. I think it's some kind of a elaborate honeypot thing to get these guys. I don't think it's such a, and I think we'll hear about it just like we did with the other guys, got a bunch of their money back. This will happen here too, and they'll track these guys down. We may never hear about them getting tracked down. We'll probably hear about them getting their money back, is my guess.
Yeah. But what would be cool though? I'm just thinking about this. This would be cool. Once the hackers move to Dogecoin, we can know that Dogecoin's legit, so like they want some Dogecoin,
Hey, speaking of Dogecoin,
it's more stable than Bitcoin.
Dogecoin got put on Coinbase, so
okay, yeah,
it's tradable on Coinbase now. So I mean, it's kind of legitimized itself by being on there. Really, like that's pretty hardcore to get on there. Like that's
really what they should do. These ransomwares, if they were really kind of like really movers and shakers, they would make their own coin, like the ransom coin.
The ransom coin.
The art coin.
Right. Right. I saw that was crazy. $11 million just seems nuts. And again, I think there's some underlying story here that we'll maybe never really, really know everything about. Because I'm sure we don't know everything about the cloning a pipeline story either, despite the fact that they got their money back. My guess is they always knew they were going to get their money back.
Right. That's why they paid it back.
Well, they got some of it back, yeah. And my guess is these guys know this too, and it's more of a way to track. They're somehow tracking the Bitcoin to the guys, or something is my guess.
Right.
There's more to this than meets the eye, especially because they weren't actually held ransom when they paid it. They already had their systems back up on track. And what kind of customer data do they have? Like the fact that I don't know, like Harris Teeter bought 10 tons of beef last year. I don't understand. Like what do they even? What kind of data do they have? I mean,
so Kevin, they want to know if we're eating beef, Kevin. That's what everyone wants to know. Are we plant protein based, or that's what we want to know.
Right.
Bobby bought a steak.
Doesn't make any sense.
That's what they want to know.
Yeah. So. It's kind of crazy. Okay, we will do usual Q&A today. Throw them in chat, and I will queue them up. I got the queue working again, which I didn't have working on Tuesday or last Thursday, but it is working again now, so I can queue up questions. So throw them in chat. We will get to those, cool. And we will do those. Oh, did you see this, by the way, too? It's funny. Somebody said, somebody's asking about Windows 11. Windows 11 doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I saw a rumor about them actually doing away with Windows naming convention altogether. Microsoft have dropped some hints about this, saying that Windows 10 will be the last version of Windows. So is that a hint to like a new name? There's an internal code name that I saw, and I can't remember what it is. But they always use these code names, right? It was like Windows, I don't know, Sunflower or something. It's like it's never going to be the actual real name of the product, right? Because they always use these code names. Microsoft's known for doing that. Project Scorpio being like the Xbox One, like when that was like a thing, or Xbox One X, I guess. When that was a thing, so that was a big deal. Like they do that all the time. They never end up being the actual names. But I wonder if they will. What do you think? You think Windows 10 is the last one, and we'll see now Microsoft OS? Is that going to be like a thing, or is it going to be something?
I guess so. I mean, even Mac OS has numbers on them, but it wouldn't be new. I mean, it's not like they didn't make Windows Vista XP.
Exactly.
And then they made NT.
You know what though?
And then
If you look at it though, every version they've named outside of like the numbering convention has been bad.
exactly. So let's just
so they
not
have a
go
track
there.
record of naming things like not within line and then it being terrible.
I mean, this is unrelated. We didn't talk about this pre-production, but like, I don't know if if you follow the Detroit Lions. Okay.
Yeah.
The Detroit Lions are traditionally awful. And so they released a hat. They released a hat yesterday that has the L on it. They put an L on their hat. So what Windows doesn't need to do is call it Windows L. I mean, like, we're going to take the L for you, but apparently when they name things, it's just a group of one. It's just one guy.
Right, it's just exactly. I think that's true. I think that's like a misconception a lot of times with people, and it's just like they don't realize, they think there's some giant thing behind this with a think tank of 100 people. Nah, it's just some dude in a room, and he's just like, there you go.
The owner. The owner puts an L on his hat and he thinks it's cool, and he didn't ask his 30-year-old social media manager, like, hey man, we shouldn't put an L on our head. It's not a good look.
Classic. Like that is funny. Getting bad reviews. Yeah, of course you are. That's awesome.
So, I mean, it could be worse on it. I mean, like,
it could be worse. I mean, the Browns could put an L on their hat,
Yeah. So that was I don't know if they name it something different. Microsoft does that a lot.
Yeah.
And so here's what I could see Microsoft do. They could go something like Xbox One and then call it Windows One.
Yeah,
I could everyone's like, well, is it better than 11 or 10?
Well, I think they dropped the Windows name if they're going to do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they have hinted to it. It says that 10 will be the last version of Windows. So, I think
they're still going to make an OS.
They're going to make 100%. Oh, 100% it's going to be an OS. But that's why I think they're sort of teasing the fact they're going to change the name. And maybe it's not Windows anymore because maybe that doesn't make sense anymore. Maybe it's something else. But like I said, maybe it's just Microsoft OS, something. That would not throw me off. Like, I would not be surprised if that happens. I'll be shocked if it's a great name.
They just hire the guy from Apple that names things. They need a new namer.
Right.
Say, what would you call this?
Yep.
Right.
And they can afford
maybe
that
Nadella can call, Tim Cook and say, hey, man, can we borrow your name guy for just a week? We just want to rename something.
Exactly, yeah. It's got a
I'll
few
take
things
you to
we want to
dinner.
rename.
We'll go to lunch.
Yeah. They do need somebody who thinks things through, because they do. I mean, across all of their products, they tend to do terribly at it. I mean, even with the Xbox, they've done bad. It's so confusing. It's very, very confusing. You have the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, the Xbox One X. Like, what are you doing? And what are you doing? Like, who thought of this?
Which one's better, the 360 or the One? I mean, this is the only one you need.
360,
just one Xbox.
Yeah, I mean,
get rid of the 360 one.
360 is bigger than
that one. Surrounded me.
I mean, who thought of like naming the next one Xbox One X? Like, why just putting an X on it? Does that make it better? What are you guys doing, man?
All they had to do was call it 2, and then they would have been good.
And maybe this is it. Maybe it's WinOS. Win's kind of cool. Win.
I like that name. WinOS.
I like that. I could get behind that. It's definitely not going to be this.
I win. That's a good name, though.
It is a good name, but this is definitely not going to be that. That would be interesting, though. I like that name.
From
here on out, we're going to nickname it iWin. I like it. The new version of Windows is now iWin.
That's brilliant, Brent. You need to market that thing right there.
Yeah, I would go. Exactly. Go get
the
that
domain name.
Yeah. Let's look that up real quick. Is that available? I don't know. I guess so.
Apple surely owns that, right?
I'm sure they do. Sure they do. So yeah, it says Vidal says Windows 11 or whatever it's going to be called around towards the end of this year. They're going to talk about June 24th. That comes, I think. Yeah, so maybe we'll hear about it soon. I think we will. Like I said, we've seen hints to the change for the new one. So, and yeah, Nadella did say that it was Windows in its last. This is the last version of it in its current thing. Now, what that means, we don't really know. It could be more cloud-based OS, could be just a naming thing. I think it's just a naming thing.
Here's what I really think is going on. I do think that the next version of Windows is based on the different framework, and so like it operates different. So it's probably a ground up rewrite to make sure that Maui and all their development tools work well with it. So like all of that underlining sys32 and all that stuff that's underneath it, I think that's what they're saying. Like that's done. We're gonna just rewrite the thing.
That makes sense.
And so, but are they gonna do it this year? Maybe. Comes out with .NET 7. I don't know.
Maybe. So, maybe. We know there's a lot changing, so potentially, yeah. Okay. Let's do some questions then. We've bantered for enough time. Let me see here. I don't know if we know the answer to this. Probably not. But beginning in Mac with C, what are the best IDE or editor and debugger for GCC I can use? I don't know on a Mac.
So editor on Mac obviously is VS Code. You can do anything in VS Code.
Visual Studio
if you're
Code,
going to be on a Mac, it's VS Code. There's also Visual Studio for Mac as well. But if you're doing non-visual, just code editing, I think VS Code would be the way to roll.
Is VS Code considered an IDE though?
It is considered a code editor.
Right. Is that
so IDE has a built-in debugger and
it does though, right? Does it not have a?
No, you got to kind of like install your extensions and get it rolling.
Okay.
So you can like attack parts on it with extensions and make it do a lot of things, but the IDE integrated development environment has your debugger in it already. It's got your web server, your dev web server, those kind of things, as well as a lot of other things in it that make it a full-featured IDE. Whereas VS Code ultimately is a code editor. But you can add things like Live Server. You can add debugger for Chrome.
Right.
I think you can get debugger for C#, and
so you can kind of build out your own IDE.
Yeah, you can get Node working on it. You can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
So,
Sean, we'll talk about this real quick. So, he agrees Loki's going to be great. It's awesome. But in the self-paced course, we were talking about this just yesterday. Will we be able to jump around in the course, or will we have a definite start to finish roadmap for us to follow? So both.
So here's Sean. Here's my vision for this. We're going to provide videos where jump-in points are part of the course, but there's a definitive roadmap built in to the tool that we're using, and it goes start to finish. All right. But we'll also probably provide some videos for people that are like saying, hey man, I already know HTML and JavaScript. I'm just here for the C#. And then we can give you a video and say how to use this if you're coming in as pre-experienced, and kind of what's prerequisite and what's not. So as we go through our projects, they start off in starter, complex, pretty complex to super complex. All right. So if you try to jump in and build our bug tracker from day one, we will be referencing modules and things that we did in the blog project. And so, like, for example, one of the big things in .NET 5 is dependency injection. So once you hit the bug tracker, we expect you to already know what dependency injections are, how services are built, and we'll say, hey, now build the service that does X. If you don't know how to build that, go back and look at the blog project to understand how services are constructed. And so we'll reference material in other projects. And in our blog, for example, if you don't know what MVC is at that point, we will be referencing the C# intro to MVC at that point. Say, all right, model view controller, go set up a controller, go set up a view that does X. And we're walking you through the problems that we're solving in the blog without really talking about MVC, the architecture at that point. So that's kind of how it's built in when you're looking through C#. JavaScript and HTML will be the exact same way, that we start from easy to complex. Now, one of the examples would be there is that we also have a VS Code tutorial where we set up our custom project, we set the debugger up, we install extensions, we do all those things to get VS Code set up for you to be successful in HTML and CSS and JavaScript. But if you go directly to the last JavaScript project, like our mortgage calc,
Right.
we're going to say, all right, start your project with our standard setup.
Yeah.
And
So
if you haven't watched the previous stuff, you're like, what is he talking about? So like there is a start to finish roadmap from A to Z, and inside each kind of HTML, JavaScript, and C#, there's an A to Z inside of that as well. So it just depends on where you're coming in at. So I hope that helps, Sean.
Yeah. So and that's something we kind of thought about. We thought about like we know people are going to want to jump in at various points. So we thought about like where are those jump in points. So we're going to kind of highlight them in the course too. So like, hey, if you're like experienced already, you can jump in, like go to the here. You can start right here. If you just want to build the bug tracker, go right here. But here's the things you have to know to be able to go right here. You have to set up your environment the same way, or do whatever you need to do, and we'll kind of those things are kind of highlighted.
And then we may be referencing things in there. We're not concerned about Bootstrap when we hit the bug tracker at that point. We're assuming that, hey, we're going to lay this out. You might want to use a grid for this in Bootstrap. We're not teaching you how to do Bootstrap grids at that point. We also will use templates, various templating in these more advanced projects, but we've covered how to carve up a template already. So we're not going to cover it in each course, or the course would be even longer than it is already. So it's definitely built on top of each other. We think this is superior to Pluralsight and the other coding platforms out there, because every course that when you go to Pluralsight is self-contained in of itself. It's like it doesn't reach it. But that's because they have third-party content authors, and no one's trying to like pull all of the pieces together. You just have to make some assumptions in some of these things, and that's why they don't always lead to employment, because we're not building things from start to scratch, or building our skill sets out so that we can actually take on a project like a bug tracker without help. So hopefully it helps.
Cool. Jordan, thanks for being the hype man in chat.
Smash that like button, y'all. I like the word y'all too. That's great, man.
Very colloquial for where we are.
That's it, man. The South.
I never say it. It's never going to be part of my vocabulary. It just seems weird to me. It's one of those things I'm never gonna pick up, no matter how long I've been here. I just know it. Every time I see it and I hear somebody say it, it still seems and sounds weird. It does, because it's very confusing too, by the way, because it can be plural, or it can also be singular.
Right.
That's so confusing. It can mean a collective group of people, y'all, or it can be a singular person, y'all. Like, it's very weird. It took me a minute to get used to. Man. It is very.
You have to take it in context.
You do. You do, definitely. Matthew wants to know when you think PC parts will go back to normal prices next year.
I don't know, man.
Probably. We're talking about this just yesterday. I was talking about this with my wife, because we were talking about cars, and if you drive around at the moment and you drive past a car lot, they don't have cars, right? They just don't.
Like Ford down the street is just empty.
The stocks is ridiculously low. Well, apparently it's to do with the technology. It's the same thing why we can't buy graphics cards and why we can't buy chips. Because the same people make those. A car's basically a computer on wheels these days, right? I mean, a Tesla definitely is. But most of the technology in there is too. So they're having a chip shortage, even in the automobile industry too. So they just can't produce the cars. It's crazy. So when will they go back to normal? I don't know. Whenever they can fix that shortage, I guess. Probably next year. I mean, it's not that the price is going. It's like you literally can't buy a graphics card right now. NVIDIA, in their infinite wisdom, bought out a 3080 Ti for some strange reason. You couldn't even buy a 3080. You haven't been able to buy one for a year. And now they bought out a new one. It's like, you can't buy that either. It's silly. I mean, the prices are normal. It's just the aftermarket has bumped it up. That's what's going on. So the real question is, when will you be able to buy one at retail? Maybe next year is my guess. I don't think it's going to be this year.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the shortage is at this point, or what I guess it was the supply chain was disrupted that much with COVID.
I guess. Well, you got to remember, in logistics, like the majority of logistics around the world is done via ocean, right? It's ocean freight. Mm-hmm. So, and that takes a minute. So if that was down for an extended period of time, that takes a minute to ramp back up again. We're talking months, right? To sail from one place to another generally. Yeah. So that stuff, I guess, is going to get back up again. Shipping stuff, air freight is expensive compared to ocean freight.
Right.
So
Amazon needs to get a ship. They needs to get on it, put that smiley face on the side of a speedboat.
They do. That's pretty funny. Just to make my point, yes, Drew Mac, it can be singular. I
Yeah.
know, confusing, right? Most people from here don't know that's the case. I didn't know that was the case. I thought you all was a thing where it's like, oh, that's how you refer to a group of people. But no, it can be singular. Very confusing. Let me keep up a couple more here. Let's see.
All right, cool. Queue us up some
Since,
questions. Hey, if you got something real important, just hit us on the super chat. We'd love to talk to you.
yeah, new Surface Duo, the 2 coming out in a couple of months regarding mobile. Is Maui going to stream like Xamarin at all? Xamarin is hard to work with. Xamarin a little
Here's
bit,
what I
right?
think's happening. Maui is going to be the new Xamarin, where they call it Xamarin. I don't know. We'll find out when .NET 6 releases what they call it. I do think that what the exciting part of .NET 6 is that you can write code that can be a target to desktop Windows, desktop Mac, Android, iOS, and web. And if they get the Blazor bindings all working out, so all of those three things can be um, underneath in one code base, and they're using the Xamarin um, underpinnings to do all that. So will they continue to call it Xamarin? I don't know. I think they're going to call it Maui, and it's just going to get renamed. But it does more than what Xamarin was doing, say, 24 months ago or 18 months ago. So it's still exciting. I mean, I don't think Xamarin's hard to work with any more than the other ones. So
You used it a little bit, right? You built some things with it.
yeah, oh yeah, I've built stuff with it. So like, you have to learn XAML, which is the big change for people, and then once you understand how to lay it out with XAML, it's not hard. I mean, but like it does take a minute to understand, the stacking and all that kind of stuff. But like once you get that, I think it's fairly easy to work with, just as easy as the other ones. So, um, pretty cool.
Okay. Let me see. Oh, this is interesting. Quick answer for this one. Fiada says, can I choose to use Bootstrap 5 in the Code Advantage self-paced bootcamp instead of Bootstrap 4?
So here's what I'm going to say. Number one, we will be using Bootstrap 5 in all of our HTML and JavaScript going forward. Bootstrap 4 will be used in the C# versions because Visual Studio is generating and scaffolding with Bootstrap 4.3 currently right now. And that's under Visual Studio 2019. Now, once Visual Studio 2022 comes out next year, that could change. I haven't looked that far yet to see kind of what they're doing on what they're generating. So we'll be using both. I don't think it's worth the time to upgrade the front ends of a MVC project right now with Bootstrap 5. I don't think there's enough reason to do that, especially when it's generating Bootstrap 4 compliant code for scaffolding. So it's just kind of the way it is. But you can do it if you want, but we're not doing that part of it in the course. I mean, I'm sure people do it. And Bootstrap 5 has literally been out for a month or two. So we do have an extension out there for Bootstrap 5.
Which I actually have right
download it. You can have it right on queue.
Oh, we're almost up to 2,000
Look at
now.
that, 1,900. We need some reviews, man. Someone give us another kind of 5-star. Got 6 of them.
6, but only.
We'll show your name on here if you do it. We'll show your name.
Only 2 have put your names in here.
And Jeremy. Thank you, Tully and Jeremy. Anyone else want to be on the show? Give us a quick review. Say you love it. Please don't put a 1-star on there.
Yeah, just if you don't love it, just move on. It's fine.
Just move on. You don't have to hate us.
You don't have to, you don't have to hate.
See, Tully's a member. Look at Tully's over here. He's a recent member, so he knows what's up.
I like it. And thank you for being a member too, Tully. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Tully.
Just one quick thing, just to go back, talking about the graphics card thing. Over 150 people waited in Best Buy 24 hours in Concord to get 43 cards. So that was over 100 people were disappointed after waiting for 24 hours. That's gutting.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad the shortage is. How much people need these things.
Wow.
You can't build a high-end PC right now if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You had all the money. I mean, well, if you had all the money, you can, because somebody's going to sell you a 3080 for like $4,000, right? But I mean,
right, exactly.
I mean, if you're willing to pay a regular amount, if you want an MSRP like PC, you can't buy them. It's crazy.
So what's Dell doing? Is Dell selling new PCs or
they are, but they're not putting in like
ZXT?
They are.
They
So
just got to go step down the graphics card a
yeah.
little bit.
Well, there's like a waiting list, right? You can still. So what's happening is they're filling orders to those manufacturers, right? So NZXT is getting a bucket of like cards, right? They're getting
Right.
way less of them though. So you can still technically buy one at MSRP, but the same thing applies. I mean, you can go build it out right now. They're going to tell you what they've got available, and chances are they don't have a 3080 Ti. They're probably
Right.
maybe they've got 3070s, maybe, and there's like a 4-month waiting list for it.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Like, it's nuts. It's crazy. I wanted to upgrade mine, but I can't. It's like, it's impossible. So, okay. Let me go up a couple more here. This is interesting. I'm not sure we've talked about this before. But Drumik wants to know, wondering how much are software developers liable for code they wrote if a hacker / virus or malware is able to exploit security vulnerability in what they wrote?
Right now, Drew, I think there's some moves in the government to clamor for this kind of stuff. I think we need to avoid this like the plague.
Yeah, I agree.
I do. I think, but if you're working for a company, then in general, you are protected by the company's corporation. So like corporations give you indemnity against doing things inside the company. Now, if your company comes after you, then they have to prove like intent, and they also have to prove malicious intent. And so like,
yeah,
so like
it has to be like criminal level, right? Or like,
right, yeah. So that's a higher bar. We need to have that set that way. Otherwise, you would just have to carry insurance at an individual level for these kind of things, which most companies, including ours, as we write code, we carry $2 million per incident for anything that happens that's wrong. But a virus is not included in that, and a virus typically also isn't the coder's fault necessarily. So like there's a level of indemnity even from a corporate to corporate arrangement that everyone signs, and they kind of. So right now, no.
Right.
And I think we need to avoid it because like some hacks you can get in, but like at the time when you were doing it, that didn't exist, or it's really
Right.
hacked.
Right.
So like here, and let me examine this, Drew. When we look at JBS Meet, the hack that happened, I read about this. They actually hacked Constant Contact, which then turned around and gave my email list, and then they got in. The Colonial Pipeline is they hacked an individual. They got a password that he used frequently, and they came in through the VPN with that username and password. And so like that's not really a hack. It's more like social engineering. They didn't like crack the VPN. The dude just used,
yeah, social engineered it. They just
I love unicorns 001 pound star, and he used it on his mail account and used it everywhere else. And so like, and then they got in. And the second thing is, so like as a programmer that created the VPN, are you liable because the guy gave away his password? I mean, no. Are you liable because someone gave up the password to Constant Contact, which in turn gave them an attack vector to get in? No. So I think that we need to stay away from that. But if that does come out to where they can sue an individual while working for a company or as your own, then you need to carry cyber insurance, which at the company level, most corporations do that write code. Hope that helps.
Here you go. And 17 professional indemnity insurance is expensive if you work for an American organization. I'm sure it is. Is this something like like what doctors have, right? This is a similar kind of thing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
but right now, if you're doing a corp to corporate arrangement, you absolutely should have insurance, cyber insurance for things like malicious intent, mistakes, omissions, and errors. It's called errors and omissions. And errors and omissions has a higher bar. It has to be like, it can't be just a random mistake. You can't
You can't just have You can't just have been tired that morning, didn't get your coffee, and forgot to put the semicolon on the end of the thing. It's like,
yeah, exactly. And like it didn't compile, and it was down for 10 minutes, and therefore you equate some kind of like loss in revenue to that. It has to be something more malicious than that in general, anyway. So like, but you have errors and omissions, a cyber policy. that you run at the corporate level. And if you're doing work on as an individual with other companies, you absolutely should incorporate, especially if you're working in America, because if you're incorporated and you're doing a corp to corp arrangement, then the only thing they can sue is the corporation. They can't go after the individuals working for the corporation. Therefore, they can't come after your house, your car, your life savings, and things like that. Whereas if you're just doing there as a one-on-one, you're working as a 1099, which is an IRS term, then you open yourself up to lawsuits. And I don't think you should open that up. I don't think you should do that. You should incorporate to give you that shield.
There you go. Interesting topic. I like that.
Hope that helps. Man, we went into law today. That's crazy.
I like it.
What's that about? Yeah.
I like it. Ian has an interesting question. We talked about this the other day, really, kind of in a roundabout kind of way.
Yeah.
How do you set yourself up for long-term fulfillment and success in programming? And because somebody asked us, it might have been on one of the streams actually. Somebody asked us like, I think it was. Somebody was like, they don't want to do the job, like they're bored. They don't want to do the job anymore. And it's like, then don't.
So yeah, I think here's what I'll say about programming. When I hear people say, I don't want to work on these corporations because they have boring projects, and I think they don't like programming. That's my gut feeling. The thing that drives us as developers, the really good ones, to be long-term fulfillment isn't the app itself. It's just the fact of like, ooh, I made a web page. I don't really care what it does. Like, or I solved that problem, or I got those transactions into SQL, or I fixed this thing and I rolled out this feature. It's the overall sense of accomplishment, fixing problems, making things work is really what drives us. It's not necessarily that, okay, I'm doing it for an insurance company, or I'm doing it for a hardware company. I may find that boring, And so the thing is, I don't think you like coding, because define what you would call cool to work on,
Right.
And I think that's kind of what you need to find out, like what's cool to you to work on, and so maybe it's something else, and maybe you need to do a different type of programming. Maybe you work on different projects, or maybe you really don't like to code. And if you don't like to code, the job's kind of bad. If you don't like it, if you don't have fun doing it. So.
Right. It's like the same. It's like the old adage. You have to enjoy the journey, not the destination. Like the journey part, the actual doing of the job, regardless of what you're working on, you have to enjoy that part.
Right. I mean, really, ultimately, it's like in everything in creative endeavor, it's about the art itself, not the finished product. So, like if you're a video editor like Kevin, and like he got a job to edit Endgame, that's kind of cool. But then he also got a Hallmark movie, and you'd say, well, that's boring. I don't want to work on a Hallmark movie. I would never watch that. But it's not about that. It's about
the edit.
Like, how can I make two cuts to tell a story? Yeah. And then once I understand the story is kind of irrelevant. It's about the art of putting it together, and you can take just as much satisfaction. Like, man, I remember putting this sequence together. That's a great sequence. I like what I did there. And it's not about whether it had lightsabers in it or not.
Right. Definitely. So, of course, there's always going to be cooler things to work on, but you're right. It is the act of editing the thing that is interesting.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. See what's the next question. I think we've had this before, but we'll talk about it again anyway.
Okay.
Brendan wants to know, can we do this self-paced course on an M1 Mac?
We've looked this up, Brandon, and you can do it if you're running Parallels. We think you should take it with Windows. So everything that you'll see in the course will be from a Windows perspective, Visual Studio and VS Code. There are Mac versions of Visual Studio, and there's Mac versions of VS Code. VS Code runs almost identical between Mac and Windows, but Visual Studio, the C# one, does not. I mean, I think they're trying to get it closer, but as of right now, I don't think they're not the same. So that you could see some differences in the screenshots, how they do things, like using Windows Explorer to get the files. Well, that's different. You're using the Finder on Mac. So we think for a first-time learner that translating those things can be kind of confusing at first.
Oh, yeah.
And so we also aren't going to troubleshoot any kind of problem with Mac not being able to run something on Visual Studio or whatever, because we don't know.
Right.
Everything's from Windows. So our advice is get Parallels, put parallels on your M1 Mac, and then roll with that. That's what I'm using. I use a MacBook Pro, and I'm running parallels, and I just use my 2-finger swipe, man. Switch between the two. Works good.
That's it. So a lot of the course has been created on a Mac, but it is an Intel Mac, not an M1 Mac. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
We believe it's going to work okay. Parallels all works great. Windows runs okay.
Yeah.
But we haven't personally tested the entire thing on an M1 Mac. That's what we'll say.
Yeah, but parallels, I mean, and then we're also not using any software. We're using Visual Studio and VS Code as our primary piece of software. We're also using Postgres. But all of those things will run on Windows pretty seamlessly. And so if you can get Windows on the parallel on the M1 Mac, I think you're fine.
I think it's going to be
Parallels already has it out. I think you'll be fine. Yep. So we haven't tested it yet, though, because I don't have an M1 Mac.
Yep. Waiting on the M1X Max.
We're getting the M1X, man. So.
Okay. Rob says, this one is Maui. Oh, with Maui, is it even worth learning WPF anymore?
I'm gonna yes, because WPF uses XAML. I do think that you're going to see a lot of similarities from that development paradigm and going to Maui. If you're into desktop development right now, there's going to be a ton of WPF projects that won't go over to Maui. Maui is just going to come out in November, be brand new. So when will that be mainstream? I think it's going to take 12 months, maybe 18 months before that's like the mainstream thing. So still, the WinForms and the WPF projects that are out there will still be relevant. So, but right now, WPF is something worth learning if you want to get into desktop development for sure. But I think when I mention Maui, it's things that I'm already coding I need to be concerned myself with. And so in our course, we'll show those. And so I think later, once it comes out, I think we'll figure out kind of what the actual development models are. They may still have a pure WPF development model, and then we'll truly see when I say cross-platform, this will run on multiple OSs, whether that be Mac or Windows, and it'll all target. Is there any concessions in there, or certain things that won't happen, or like and then if you have that use case, do you have to go to WPF? I don't know the answers to those yet. I mean, it's still like in preview. So like, we'll just see kind of where they're going to land by the end of the year. But right now, yeah, I think it's worth learning WPF if you're doing desktop right now. Yes.
There you go. Street Guy says, what do you think about making bug tracker using Python?
If you want a Python job. Yeah. I mean, you're not targeting data science and you want a Python web development job, then that's what I would make the bug tracker with.
Just make sure those jobs are where you are. Don't just build it because
and just make sure that's the stack that they're going to use, and that's the stack you can target. So there's nothing magic about what we say to build it with. There's no feature that you can't do with other web development frameworks. It's just that you have to pick one, and then when you pick one, interview for those kind of jobs, and just look and see if you're using whatever you're using as your framework, to see if that framework's in demand where you are. So, but it makes sense if you sort of know Python, maybe that framework's easier for you to pick up, and you can make the bug tracker. Go for it. I just think there's more demand for full stack dev roles with ASP than there is full stack dev roles with Python. It's just my opinion, but like I think it's in more demand that way.
Hey, Ronald wants to know, is Bootstrap 5 officially out yet? It is. Like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
Cool.
Version 1.0. I think it's 1.01 now, I think.
Like that. I love it. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, like, it's kind of cool. I like it. We wrote an extension on it. So, I mean, it's neat.
Okay. There's something interesting. So Walker wants to know, when we make it through the self-paced class and build our own stuff, is there an endorsement from Foundry that we can use during search? I'm guessing for the job search. So there is a certificate, or there will be a certificate.
Yeah, if you complete everything.
If you complete everything, there will be a certificate you can get. Now, what that doesn't do is we don't actually really know if you've completed it or not. It's right. So what we're not going to do is endorse you in terms of saying, we have looked at Walker's work and his work is great, and we love his bug tracker.
Not this year. I think we may get there, but I can't commit to that this year. Like there's no like we need to see how many students are in the whole platform, and how many of you are asking for us to review your work like you do in the full the full class, the virtual class. So like in the virtual class, we endorse every single guy or girl that finishes and they're at this particular level. So we look at, does the bug tracker function to our standards? Does the blog function to our standards? Does the portfolio meet our standards? And then we say, check, you're good. And then when someone calls in and says, hey, this person, they finished your bootcamp, how were they? We can go back and look and go, everything's up to snuff. We liked what they did. They were great. We can't do that in a self-paced initially. There may be an add-on that we might build, some way that we can do it, but like we think there may be too much demand for that, or there may be no demand for it. So we'll wait and see, but we'll definitely think about it through the summer while we get it out. Our goal right now is just to get this in your hands as soon as possible. So like that's what we're really focused on, and then we'll look at like how could we do code reviews with individual students.
Yep, definitely something we thought about, but not something you'll see at launch.
Yeah. Right.
But there is a certificate.
But if you want that, you can come to the virtual bootcamp, and that's one of the reasons why it is more expensive. Is there's a lot more time investment on the staff side here.
Oh yeah.
So there are two different products.
Yep. Here's an interesting. Yeah, wow, Walker with good questions today. I like this question too. I don't think we've had this one before.
Walker.
Is it okay to choose not to work on a project due to ethical concerns? Have you ever experienced that?
So I do have lines I'm not going to cross. Right. I mean, like that.
A criminal line is definitely one of them, right?
Criminal. I'm not going to work on illicit content. I don't care how much money you pay me. I'm not going to do it. And so those kind of things. And then I might look at a business practice, and it depends on what it is. And I can't really even describe what that would be.
Right. But, something shady.
Yeah,
it's legal, but maybe it's a gray area.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of jank, dude. Like, but here's Walker. What I would say this is like, make sure you have those well defined in your mind. Okay, now it can't be ad hoc, kind of ethical, or it can't even be. I don't know. You're just gonna be seen as someone that's hard to work with, But if you're at a company and they ask you to do something, you have to kind of do it unless it is criminal or illicit. I think that's kind of where it's going to fall if you're working for the company. And what you have to do at that point is just not work there. You have to leave.
Right.
And that's okay. People can leave over the ethical concerns. But if they're making, I don't even know what to say. Maybe let's say that they're making a Manchester United site. Right. And you're on the other end of that thing. You're like, there is no way in heck I'm making a site for those guys. I have ethical concerns.
That's like a valid reason. That's valid. Hold on a minute. I mean, N17 Hero will back me up here. If he's asked to make like a Chelsea site, he's not gonna make it. Why he is he's gonna make it? He's gonna make it really bad. Is what he's gonna do.
It's gonna have some holes in it. You can hack this thing easily.
Yeah. Well, we actually have an example of this. I mean, we've told this story before with a student who didn't get their first job because of a reason, because they didn't like the political leaning of the company that they went to interview at.
Right.
And that person never broke in. So. Right.
See, I think those things are like, to me, it's like I think it's illicit and criminal. I think that's where my line is, and the other ones are like, okay, we're saving the whales or we're not saving the whales. Like, I don't know how I would probably work on it, and that kind of thing. Or they use too much power here. They're not ethically. They're not green. I mean, like, so those are kind of things where like, nah, I don't know about those. But here's what I will say: if you do have a strong aversion to that, don't go to those companies and expect them to change for you. You're just going to have to leave and pick somewhere different. What I do tell students that are trying to break in is your first job is not your last job. And sometimes you do have to put your personal things aside to get experience and get work, as long as it's not criminal and it's not illicit. That's where I would draw the line. But those going in. So like, are you going to write a website for the mob? No. you know. So we're
What?
not going to do that, you
How
know.
much money?
So like, yeah, exactly, you know.
No, no, you're
Well, they
not.
always come back and get it from you, you know. Like
Right,
that's the
that's the
problem,
thing.
you know.
That's the problem. Yeah, yeah. Doesn't matter how much
Yeah,
they're
you
paying you up
can't
front,
leave.
they're getting it back some way.
Yeah, they're coming back for that. So like, you know, I think that's kind of I've never personally experienced and turned things down, but I have like not as a consultant not even entertained it, you know, and said, no, I don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't. I mean, but that's okay. So I haven't really had to make a financial decision on that, like, and really wrestle with it. I just don't go after those types of projects. You
Right.
know, so it's just me.
It's something interesting. I'm sure we both have an opinion on this. Travis asked if he will write a bot to buy graphics cards. Ethical or not?
It's not. Well, let me tell you a true story, Chad.
It's not.
It's not
I
ethical,
know you have a
but
story about this.
yeah. So like we worked at a company. I'm not going to talk about this company, and I didn't personally work on this. Okay, so like I was at the company where this was built, and so in a consulting company, and we were asked to work on buying concert tickets from Ticketmaster. And so, and you got to understand, this was late 90s, 2000 ish, somewhere in that, I can't remember the exact year. So, terms of service for these things were non existent. And what we did was we took a bank of credit cards and we bought, I can remember when Bruce Springsteen was in concert in a certain city, we bought the first 12 rows in like 30 seconds.
This is why I couldn't see Bruce Springsteen. This is
This is why in certain cities, absolutely why. Because and then looking back on that, when you're a lot younger, you don't consider some ethical things, and you're like,
yeah,
that thing got shut down, that guy got in trouble, and like then the terms of service changed on Ticketmaster. So
right.
if you're looking at certain things, they're going to have terms of service. Do people have bots that buy things? They absolutely do.
Yeah.
But I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
is it any different than sitting there refreshing the page? Technically, no, you can just do it way faster. I would say this: if you're trying to buy every graphics card on, say, Newegg, then that's probably not ethical, and probably even
It's
can get you
definitely
banned from the site.
yeah, it's definitely not ethical. I mean, there's no question about it. Whether it borderlines on at some point criminal, I don't know.
Illegal. I don't think it's illegal necessarily, but I think that that's problems. I think that does have some definite gray area. I wouldn't do it. I mean, I'm just not going to do it. I don't need a graphics card that much to get in trouble.
Right.
Right. But I mean, I'm sure you can go Mondo Tees, if you want one of those posters.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm sure people.
Kevin somehow gets them. I think he has a bot, but somehow he gets them.
I don't. I swear. I think they have good anti-bot technology is the thing.
Yeah.
And it enables actual real people to be able to buy them.
Yeah, and it's really not graphics card. It's more like in the sneaker business, like where people are buying those things instantly.
100%, man, 100%, definitely. Yeah. Like I've looked out on some sneaker purchases too. Like I really have. You get them from, but it's notorious. Like the sneakers app, the SNKRS app, the Nike sneakers app, it's called. Like is notorious for like having like resellers and bots and just like it's rife with it. And you get lucky every so often. I think I've got lucky twice on that app, having tried to buy 50 pairs of shoes. I've maybe bought 2 from getting it from that app. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
I hope that helps. Good question, Chad. Thanks.
Definitely. Speaking of security, Alan says recommendation tools for saving passwords. There's a bunch. There's 2 that I know of that are good.
I'm using LastPass. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but like I'm using
LastPass and 1Password are 2 that you should look at.
And LastPass isn't free anymore. I will say this: they have a free version, but it only works on one machine.
Well, it actually works on one platform. So it's kind of confusing. Yeah. You can use it on desktop, so you can use, and I say desktop, you can use it on like a laptop or a desktop, so you can use it on a desktop OS, or you can use it on mobile for free. It doesn't let you use it on both.
And I always had a need for both. I've tried to be cheap and say I'm just going to use it on a desktop. I never use, and then every time like if someone asks me and I'm trying to log into something on my phone, and
like it doesn't work.
And all the passwords generate, so I don't even know what they are. So like I end up paying for it.
Yep. But both good apps. I would suggest either one of those.
Yep.
Let me see. Lil Shoke, if I pronounce that correctly, wants to know, how do I become a programmer without a CS degree or any other degree in other streams like history and arts? That's okay. It's okay not to have a degree. You
Yeah.
could read this. This tells you everything you need to know.
There you go. Breaking the code, shameless plug.
Yep, shameless plug, but it tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah. So like in general, I'll just give you the high level thing is you need to obviously acquire education. And then you need to build projects and then show those projects to potential employers. So that's 3 out of the 5. We go in depth in the book, but in general, and how do you acquire knowledge? Well, you can go to college like you did to get your other degree. You can go to a community college a little bit cheaper. You can go to a boot camp like us, or you can take a self-paced way like our self-paced course or Udemy and Pluralsight or something like that, or free code camp. There's a lot of ways to learn how to code. But I think you got to build a portfolio and projects to break in without that degree. Hope that helps.
Ultimately, you've got to prove you can do the job.
Yeah, prove it.
You can prove that by having a portfolio. Yep. Okay, we've got time for a couple more here. Let me see.
Couple more. All right, cool.
Here's one we don't often get. Interesting. Tech Under Radar wants to know, how much should I demand for an online front end developer job?
So I'm assuming that you're talking about a remote front end developer job. I don't know what that means online, but like I'm assuming remote.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
So the question is, I don't know the answer to this. Do you have experience or not? If you have zero experience, then demand is going to be what you're willing to work for, and realize that the first job is more about the experience than the actual pay. So you may have to get paid less for that. So if you have experience and you have lots of proof, you can demand obviously more. But depends on where you live and what your skills are. I don't know how to answer that one.
Yeah, it's such a wide open answer. But I would say ultimately the real answer is, though, whatever you're willing to make, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Because if you're going to demand like $30,000, let's say, you're going to be like, well, that's not enough. Super chat. Thank you, Austin. We'll get to that in a second.
All right, thank you.
But that's not enough. Right, then, like, why bother demanding it? Or if you're going to demand $100,000, but you don't know what you're doing, you're just never going to get it. So,
right, you're just not going to get it.
Yeah, it's just that there is no real answer to that. It's going to be all over.
Depends on experience and what, and then where you live and what kind of jobs you're in. So,
yep. That's it. Austin, thank you for the super chat. Any advice to a beginning/intermediate coder for getting into freelancing and consulting?
Yeah, so beginner's hard.
Yeah,
beginner's hard. Here's my advice: is if you're a true beginner, only take jobs that you know actually how to do. So you got to build a reputation for taking on work, completing said work, and then getting paid to do that. So like in general, you're going to have to sell yourself to whoever's hiring you. And so you can do that through TopTool, Odesk and Fiverr and all these other kind of freelancing sites out there. You also will need to build a website that people can go in there to see that you're legit and have examples of your work. So just like a beginner coder needs a portfolio, if you're going to set yourself up as a freelancer/consultant, then you need to have a website as well that shows what you can do and the things that you work on. And then you're going to have to be a really good salesperson. You got to sell it.
I think that's the underrated thing is being all of the other hats, being sales, being marketing, being accounting, like stuff that you maybe don't want to do, is sort of the underestimated part of being a freelancer.
And so when you say intermediate, a beginner/intermediate, I don't know if they're two different types. If you're a beginner, I would look for an entry-level software job to gain more experience before I try to become a freelancer/consultant. Or if you say I'm a beginner but I know a full stack, you can take lower end freelance jobs that you can absolutely knock out on the weekend and still work as you're building your skills up. So there's lots of ways to get there, but I didn't start a consultancy since 2002 and I've been coding since 91. So like when I got into it, I could take projects like, I know how to do that. I absolutely know how to build that thing. And I never take things that I don't know how to do. So like one of my pet peeves is if someone comes to me and say, hey, I want you to build this, but you have to build it in X. And I'll say, well, we only do it this way. So find someone else that knows how to build it. But I want you. Well, I don't build it in Java.
Right.
So like we would turn those roles down. But if we can build it in C sharp, hey, I'm your team. I've got a team. I've got people. Let's go after it. But if you want to dictate what it is to us, then we would probably turn those down because we can't guarantee that we can deliver. We may run into something we didn't anticipate, those kind of things. So that's kind of my advice. I hope that helps. Hope that was worth the super chat. So hopefully that helps out, Austin.
There you go.
We appreciate it.
Okay, we're a little bit past the hour, so let's wrap up here.
Okay, cool.
Anything to plug at the end?
No, we just learned that Coder Foundry. If you want to get in on the pre-launch pricing, there you go.
It is still up.
$229 per year, still pretty good deal.
Yep.
It'll be $99 a month when it goes live, and that's going to come soon. So I know you guys are waiting for it. It's coming soon.
We will actually do. Here's something we kind of promised you guys too. When we do the announcement, we'll do it on a stream.
We will. It'll be on a Tuesday or a Thursday.
We won't release it. So we won't release it before we put it out on stream. So just know that too.
Oh, cool. Drew Mac. All right. We'll answer Drew Mac.
I guess we'll do one more here. Is there times you would rather be doing something else besides coding in your free time? It doesn't mean you are wrong for the field. Oh, this is basically, can you have hobbies outside of coding?
Yeah, man, I was chasing the raid on Destiny. So like, exercise, I try to work out. I mean, like there's a lot of things. I've got kids and family. So, that doesn't mean you're bad if you just code 40 hours a week. That doesn't mean you suck. You don't have to have it. You don't have to be your career and hobby. I think you're good.
Yeah, it's like me. I don't go home and start editing videos. Like,
yeah. So, but you could if you wanted to. But it's not.
But I don't.
If you want to shoot a short film, you can do that.
Right.
What I would say this: only you can decide if you're in the wrong field, Drew. I can't tell you that you're in the right field or the wrong field. It's this thing that you're feeling. I mean, you're like, man, I don't really like doing this at all, but even if it's not your favorite thing to do and they're paying you and you're successful at what you're doing, stay with it until it becomes untenable. You're like, dude, I cannot do this anymore.
Right.
Find something else. But I wouldn't have like the midlife crisis guy that just, the Jerry Maguire, have the Jerry Maguire exit and screw all of y'all. I'm throwing all my computers out. No, I would on ramp into something else,
Right.
I would keep my job, my day job, code around. It's not the favorite thing to do. I really want to be into kayaking. I want to be a kayak guide, so like maybe that's something you want to do on the weekends and figure out if that's really what you want to do. Those kind of things. I want to be a day trader. Okay. We all do, but like,
right. But if you are going to Jerry Maguire it, make sure that you video and put it on YouTube so we can all watch. Because it's entertaining at least. I'm not against the Jerry Maguire exit. Yeah.
Take the fish tank.
Definitely take the fish. Yeah, definitely take the fish. Cool. Well, we will be back next Tuesday. We'll do another one of these and bring your questions.
Good luck and keep coding, guys. See you next week.
We'll see you guys later.